The sun dipped below the horizon. Shadows stretched long and eerie across Ashton Falls. Ashton Falls, a town cloaked in perpetual twilight, shrouded in secrets as deep as the surrounding woods. Wisps of fog rose from the ground, swirling around flickering streetlights like ghostly apparitions. A chill wind howled through the deserted streets, rustling fallen leaves like whispers. The old houses stood silently, their dark windows watching, judging. They had seen too much, heard too much. A group of teenagers, oblivious to the ominous atmosphere, walked down the sidewalk. They joked and laughed, their voices echoing in the stillness. They were about to discover that some legends are best left undisturbed.
Are you chicken, Josh?
Jenna smirked, leaning across the table in the brightly lit diner. The aroma of coffee and fries hung in the air, a poor attempt to mask the growing unease.
No way! The Midnight Man is just a story to scare kids.
Don't say his name.
Mark's voice was a hushed whisper. He glanced nervously at the diner's entrance. The legend of the Midnight Man was deeply ingrained in Ashton Falls history. It was said that if you dared to venture out past midnight, you would encounter the Midnight Man, a tall, shadowy figure with eyes that glowed red in the dark.
Stop it, Mark. You're being ridiculous.
But even her voice lacked conviction.
Fine, let's do it. We'll go to the old graveyard at midnight. How's that?
The old iron gate creaked open, its rusty hinges groaning in protest. The graveyard lay before them, bathed in the pale glow of the moon. Twisted trees cast menacing shadows, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The air grew colder as midnight approached. The silence was broken only by the sound of their own breathing and the frantic pounding of their hearts. Each gust of wind sent shivers down their spines.
This was a bad idea.
Mark whispered, his voice trembling. He kept looking over his shoulder, his eyes darting nervously in the darkness.
Relax, will you?
Josh tried to sound brave, but his bravado was wearing thin. As the clock tower in the distance chimed 12 times, a thick fog rolled in, blanketing the graveyard in an ethereal mist. It was the stroke of midnight.
Did you hear that?
A low growl echoed through the graveyard, sending a jolt of fear through the group. They huddled closer, their eyes scanning the darkness.
Did you hear that?
Emily whispered, her voice barely audible above the sound of her own ragged breathing. The wind picked up, swirling around them, carrying with it a chorus of whispers. They were faint, indistinct, but undeniably human. Or were they?
It's just the wind,
Josh said, his voice tight with forced confidence. But even he couldn't ignore the growing sense of dread that had settled over them. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. Mark had vanished. They spun around, their hearts pounding in their chests. Where had he gone? A figure emerged from the fog, tall and skeletal, its edges blurred and indistinct. Two glowing red eyes burned through the mist, fixing on them with a malevolent intensity. The Midnight Man. Terror, raw and primal, seized them. They stumbled back, their screams lost in the swirling fog. The figure took a step closer and they could hear the rasp of its breathing, feel the icy chill emanating from its very core. They were trapped, caught in the gaze of something ancient and evil. This was no legend. This was real, and it had come for them.